remnant of stuff that says girls ain't supposed to. There's still a big disparity in what men are paid and what women are paid. What is it? Something like a woman makes 72 cents for every dollar a man makes. There's still the idea that
A woman could make $20 in 3 minutes. What are you talking about?
what? By doing what? By doing what?
By being how would I put this?
Just spit it out.
A companion, an exotic
Okay.
companion,
Okay, so now we're back
professional companion.
we're back to down to the subjugation of women and how the only thing available to women is to be a slut. You'll get
Well,
paid for
it's
that
big. It's
because your value isn't in you as a person. It's in the fact that you're female and you have a body, okay, that a man can enjoy.
it's more profitable.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
No.
Okay. The first thing that comes to your mind when I tell you something is, oh, what woman can make $20 in 5 minutes by selling her body?
It's a business.
You would never suggest that to a man.
It's the oldest trade.
Exactly. You wouldn't suggest that to a man.
Why not?
Because you wouldn't. That wouldn't be the first thing you'd suggest.
It wouldn't be the first thing, but it's a business.
Okay, it's a business, but it's more expected to come from a girl to be a whore than it is for a man. Because a man isn't really looked at as a whore. A man playing around is, well, he's a guy, what the fuck. A girl does it, and her value as a human being just diminishes.
See, that's where you got it messed up. Not in today's.
I got it messed up.
Not in today's world.
Well,
it's
maybe
not
not
like
in
that
today's
no more.
world, but in the world I grew up in, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's
Because
what I'm saying.
that was faulty. Being a slut was supposed to be a good girl. That was
No,
more
I mean,
important
I
than
remember
anything.
when I was in middle school, it was still like that, and then like probably like in the last 10 years, it's just being a whore is the new.
What year were you in middle school?
I don't know. I remember over the last 10 years. So like 20.
Like around 2010.
Yeah, 2010, 2015. That's when all
In 2010.
decency went out the fucking
In 2010, I went back to work. And I was working in this bar. And the girls shocked me, the way they were acting. They were worse than the boys. With the notches on the bedpost and the shit. Because I'd talk to them. And I worked a lot at this one bar called Quincy's Junkyard. And I met they were nice girls, they were all in their early 20s. And the stuff they would say, I would laugh at it. I would go, my God, you girls are worse than the guys. And we would talk about it. And I'd go, when I was your age, not a chance in hell would any young lady be doing that.
Doing what?
Going to a bar, not putting notches on the bedpost,
What does that mean?
Notches on the bedpost.
Catching bodies?
Maybe that's a similar thing, catching bodies.
Premarital.
Yeah, that thing. Like going out for the night and hooking up and dumping them. Going out, meeting a guy for the sole purpose of getting laid. That's it. Or he was really good looking, want to try that, then get rid of it. Like, you're as bad as the men because for years that's how men treated women, and the answer isn't for now that you women are in a better position for you to act just like the boys and to treat men that way. That's not an answer. We're going to be better than that. People shouldn't be valued on their value as a sex object because you're objectifying them, number one.
Sounds good, but that's not the world we live
Oh my God, Tim, you should have been alive in '71. The world was, we had so much hope that the world could be a better place. And everybody was looking forward to the age of Aquarius and things were going to change. People were going to become more enlightened. And boy, whoa, somebody popped that balloon.
Okay. So how did they ruin that? What ended the hippie era?
The '80s.
Drugs?
No,
The
wasn't.
drugs got stronger?
No, well, the rise of cocaine was part of it, but it
Yeah.
wasn't just that. It was all of a sudden everything was money. Everything was designer this and designer that. And people placed a very high value on having designer clothing, which prior had only been available to the super wealthy.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, Vogue magazine became a bestseller, and everybody was into this. You know, I mean, I had a pair of $250 boots, and they were fucking gorgeous boots. Let me tell you.
Gucci? Did
Gorgeous.
they have Gucci back then?
Yeah. I had a pair of Zodiac boots that cost $250, and spending that much money on a pair of boots was unheard of. They had sterling silver tips. They were pale.
Cowboy boots?
They were pale blue. They came up to here, and they had a cuff that the cuff was like this, with a split down the back. They had heels, sterling silver toe guards. They were pale blue, and the cup had pale mauve cutout, and those boots were fucking high. And I saw them, and I was like, fuck, I want them boots. And I saved my money, and I bought those boots. And every time I'd go out for the night, people would freak out over those boots. But it was a one-time deal for me. People started getting it. They had to have designer eyeglasses. They had to have designer clothes, designer pocketbooks. Everything became Polo, Ralph Lauren, this, that. Going to New York, and especially in this area, because you could go over to New York City like that.
Yeah, but how? How does it go from people just not caring about that to now that's what everybody
Listen,
care about?
I can't explain it to you. All I know is, like, for instance, there was a time in the early 70s when people thought that LSD and smoking pot could expand your consciousness and bring you close. It was all a search for God or for the universal mind or what bound us all together as human beings, okay? And one day I woke up and it was all about how fucked up you could get. It wasn't about finding God anymore.
Well, it had to be something.
I don't know. I guess maybe I was too young to understand what drove that. All I can tell you is it went from reaching a higher plane of reality, reaching a higher plane of consciousness. It went from that to how many beers can I drink before I puke?
Or was it the government?
No, society as a whole.
But the government had nothing to do with that. Like the CIA.
You know, I never even considered that, but it was worldwide. It wasn't just here. So, no, I don't think it was the CIA. I think it was just people in general.
Well, it had to be like commercials or something pushing that. Like people
Well,
just don't
you know, that was another thing.
want to wear polo or
Music
whatever.
became more and more popular. And the late 60s, early 70s, new music was coming out every day, and it was good. Oh my God, nothing like today. I mean, the stuff that came out back then was mind-blowing. Like, yes, and their latest album was just, oh my God, and all these different bands, they were creating this insane music. Brain Salad Surgery, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Led Zeppelin, all these different bands were creating this. And the Beatles, which you don't really know about, but the Beatles were insane. They went over to India and studied with the gurus over there, and they brought all this stuff back from India. They brought Ravi Shankar back, and we had the first mega concert. There was major starvation in Biafra, and all these rock musicians, and this was the first time that happened, and they created this album, and it had hundreds of musicians, and they wanted to raise money to feed the starving kids in Biafra. There was, and then you got a little further, and there was Michael Jackson, and We Are the World, and MTV. So all this stuff started getting pushed on the television. I remember the day MTV started. The very first song played on MTV, Video Killed the Radio Star. I remember sitting in the house waiting with my friends for it to come on. Must have been around 20-something. So yeah, we're sitting there, and this new thing is going to happen. They're going to have this thing called MTV, music television. They're going to put our music on TV. So we're all sitting there waiting.
What was it, in the 70s?
No, now we're talking late 78, 79, early 80s. Early 80s. MTV. Oh my God, it was huge. It was like worldwide. It was huge, MTV. But then with all the videos and the designers getting involved with the rock musicians and them wearing these crazy clothes and the Toxic Twins. East from Massachusetts. Walk This Way, Aerosmith. Okay. Aerosmith. It all somehow turned into how fucked up can you get? While wearing beautiful clothes.
That's funny because that's what happened to rap music. It used to be about, when rap first started, it was about dancing and having fun and bringing people together, like rallying against injustice and stuff like social justice. And then now, today, it's all about
money.
It's all about money, but it's all about drugs, money, and sex. That's it. And all the other stuff is like, yeah, that's cool, but we want to hear about,
Listen.
Like, you can't hear one song without somebody talking about, how fucked up they are.
In the beginning, there was some rap music I liked. I liked Biggie Smalls. I liked the 50
Well,
Cent.
he was a drug rapper. That's all he rapped about.
I didn't
was
like
selling
all
drugs.
his stuff. I liked some of his stuff because I listened to the words and I liked what he was saying. It was like, wow, yeah, that's interesting as hell. I liked hearing from a different point of view because I didn't have that point of view. I grew up in an all-white little hick. This was a hick town. The roads were dirt roads. I grew up here, 1960s. People still had farms and horses and chickens. So for me, it was very interesting because Patterson's right down the road. I've been there with my grandmother to go shopping in the big city because that's what we consider Patterson, big city. And to hear these black people or other people of color talk about in a song their experience, it was very interesting if you listen to the words. And a lot of people my age didn't seem to be making the connection. See, Bob Dylan, for instance. You know who Dylan is?
I heard of him.
Alright, so Bob Dylan, when Dylan came out, he
was his own band or he was with somebody else?
No, Dylan was by himself. And then he collaborated with a band called The Band and the Grateful Dead. Dylan and the Dead, they used to tour together all the time. Anyway, Dylan was considered a poet and he had important things to say. And if you go back and read the words to his songs, like a Rolling Stone, very interesting. So now here was this different group of people that had experiences that I knew nothing about. Nothing at all. That's not how I grew up. I had no contact with that sort of thing. But a lot of people didn't pay attention to it because it was black music. Didn't relate. Black music. But I just have always been interested in everything and curious about everything. And, hey, it's got a good beat. I can dance to it. Now, what's the guy saying? Okay, so after Dylan, there was Springsteen. And he was considered the new Dylan, and I used to piss Jim off. He hated Bruce Springsteen just because of that. Can't compare Springsteen to Dylan. Dylan was, yes, dear. And we had differing opinions about that. But yeah, Dylan was a big fucking deal. And it was all because of how he put in his lyrics things he was talking about, which were relative to what was going on in the late 60s and early 70s with the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War movement, everything. And then Dylan wrote Hurricane, which happened right in Patterson. Very interesting.
Hurricane.
You don't know about Hurricane?
No.
Okay, there was a guy who was a boxer. His name was Hurricane. I forget his last name. He was black. They railroaded him for a murder he didn't commit. And it was a big deal. They tried to get him free for decades. They finally got him out of jail. They finally proved that they railroaded him. All because he was black. He got blamed for, and it happened right here in Patterson, New Jersey. And you never heard of
It was
him.
a man named Hurricane?
He was a boxer. That was his name.
Oh. And he said he got charged with rape or something?
No, murder.
What the fuck?
I can't remember what it is. But Dylan wrote a song about it. Don't forget, a lot of these people were big with the...
I think I heard about that. Did he pardon? I don't think about somebody else.
Is it Hurricane Smith? Hurricane Jones.
So they said who murdered who?
In Patterson, there was this black guy who was a boxer.
Yeah, I heard about that. I could have swore. I think, wasn't Donald Trump talking about him or something?
Reuben Carter, Hurricane Carter.
Sound familiar.
That's him. Okay? Born in Clifton, New Jersey. Black American middleweight boxer who was wrongfully convicted in prison for murder until released after spending 18 years and 4 months in prison. And that was his name, the Hurricane. In 1966, yeah, because I can picture the place, the Lafayette Bar and Grill in Patterson, New Jersey. Carter and his co-accused were arrested for a triple homicide which was committed at the Lafayette Bar and Grill in Patterson. Shortly after the killings at 2:30 a.m., a car carrying Carter, Artis, and a third man were stopped by police outside the bar while its occupants were on their way home from a nearby nightclub. Then they arrested them and basically charged them with all 3 murders, and they were arrested, convicted, and given life sentences.
They made a movie about this guy?
Oh yeah, Dylan wrote a song
They got it on
about him.
Tubi?
The story inspired the 75 Bob Dylan song Hurricane and the 1999 film The Hurricane starring Denzel Washington as Hurricane Carter.
Okay, so you said the dude got framed?
The police just said, he's guilty.
Okay. Because it had to do with boxing?
No, because he was outside, he was black, he was outside the bar.
Okay.
He must have done it, you know?
So he was drinking while black?
Yeah, but he was in a different bar.
He was bar hopping while black?
He was in a different bar. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I could have swore Donald Trump said something about this guy. It was him or somebody else. I don't know.
Okay, the stories. At around 2:30 a.m. on June 17, 1966, two men entered the Lafayette Bar and Grill in Patterson and started shooting. Two people were killed immediately, and a woman died in a hospital a month later, suffering multiple wounds from shotgun pellets. A third customer survived the attack, but he was blinded in one eye. When questioned, they all told the police that the shooters had been black males, but neither one identified Carter or John Artis. 10 minutes after the murders, around 2:40 a.m., Carter and Artis were in a car returning from a night out at the Night Spot, another nearby bar. The police recognized Carter, a well-known and controversial